Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. We are back once again to bring you a weekly recap video, this time of the SmackDown that took place last night on December 5th, 2025, at the Moody Center in Austin, Texas. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. This is the Fallout SmackDown episode of Survivor Series, and we also have the finals of the Last Time Is Now tournament. We kick off the show with Drew McIntyre once again trying to enter the arena, but is quickly reminded by Nick Aldis that he is suspended even after all the shenanigans he tried to pull with Paul Heyman. After realizing Drew can't smooth talk his way out of this one, he gets back in his truck and then is ambushed by our WWE Undisputed Champion, Cody Rhodes. Drew peels out of the arena as Cody chants "ring through," and Rhodes makes his way down to the ring. Interesting bit there that Nick Aldis was right there. But I think Cody, I guess, felt he needed to convince the crowd as well. Cody has one request for Nick Aldis, and that is to uplift Drew's suspension so he can squash the cockroach that is Mr. McIntyre. Decent opening segment here, continuing the more aggressive side of Cody Rhodes and clearly showing that this rivalry between Drew and Cody is very, very personal. So no issues with that. We then get into our first contest of the evening, and this is the U.S. Open Challenge continuing after a week off, with Carmelo Hayes answering the call this time. The match starts off with All Things coming up Ilya, and then quickly shifts over to Carmelo, who then takes control of the match. While the match was great, unfortunately the match does end up with a bit of interference with the assist of Ciampa taking out Carmelo, and then Ilya hits a torpedo Moscow and an H-bomb to pick up the win, and still your United States champion, Ilya Dragunov. So yeah, this was a great contest and was really, I would have liked to have seen, this is one of those matches I think could easily have been on a PLE and, give me a best of 7, absolutely, and I think most people would not complain either. But on this particular occasion, Ilya does get the win, albeit through at the time, an unrealized assist from Ciampa. Clearly things are going to be moving in that direction later seen that evening. I believe next week we will officially get Ilya and Ciampa. We then continue the action where we have a Kairi Sane going up against Alexa Bliss. Of course, Kairi is accompanied by Asuka, and Alexa Bliss is accompanied by Charlotte. A bit of a fallout, continuing that whole bit from Monday's Absolute Carnage, that is the women's tag division. And per Michael Cole, the first time these two have ever gone one-on-one. Both Charlotte and Alexa try to assist, and Kairi dishes out a good majority of the punishment throughout this match. But Kairi takes a bit too long to send that insane elbow, and Bliss takes advantage, getting the win over Kairi with that sister Abigail. After the match, however, Nia Jax and Last Legend end up taking out all teams involved here, including the likes of Charlotte and Alexa and the Kabuki Warriors. So kind of making a statement there, standing tall and holding up those titles. Clearly, all teams here still jockeying for position in that very, very crowded women's tag division. Getting into the second half of SmackDown, we have a Jade Cargill versus Alba Fire match, and Alba Fire actually was doing pretty well in this one until she wasn't. Chelsea helped get that advantage, and but then also caused a distraction that allowed Jade to be that bitch, as she self-proclaims. Chelsea Green gets distracted by Julia, who comes down to the ring, accompanied by Kiana. Clearly, Julia is still kind of chasing that U.S. title that she lost not that long ago. And, we'll have to wait and see kind of what the story is there. But I think the main takeaway here is Jade Cargill is still as dominant as ever. Curious to see who will end up stepping up to her as a legitimate threat. We got a tease later with Mi Chen and kind of calling back to BFAB as well. But I think most of us would agree that neither of those women are going to be the one to cause any issues for Jade. Getting into the next segment, we have MFT making their way down to the ring. Solo says they promised to take care of their Sammy problem, and they did just that. Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Six are next. Solo then says, everything was his and is now yours, and that will become mine. So, clearly a deep reference there, making this rivalry very personal, and the MFT puts Wyatt Six on notice. But before they can even leave the ring, the entirety of the Wyatt Six appear, with Solo and Howdy taking center stage. A brawl ensues here, and for now, Wyatt Six stand tall, but clearly this is just the first of many battles of what will probably be a very long war. The only bit here that kind of it's always bothered me, even back when I thought this was going to be the Survivor Series War Games match, is that Nikki Cross, in this particular brawl, is seen taking on JC Mateo. So clearly there's a bit of a mismatch there. But will be interesting feud regardless. But I think that is one bit that it keeps kind of bothering me in terms of, this being an equal bout. But regardless, I think both these teams bring something very interesting to the table. And I have no idea how long this feud will go, but it does feel like one we've been building up to for quite some time, and due to some unforeseen circumstances, did get delayed a bit. But I think now that we are kind of full speed ahead, it appears, I think this one will feed families for a bit, I think. Before our main event, we did see a few backstage NXT talent, and that is the likes of Sol Ruca, Ricky Saints, and Oba Femi. We see Cody come in after Nick Aldis kind of says, explains why you're here. Cody then does further explain, saying that the winner of Oba and Ricky tomorrow night at Deadline, or tonight, I guess, at Deadline, will face Cody Rhodes at Saturday Night Main Event on that December 13th. Of course, that is the last appearance of John Cena. So a little bit more, as if the NXT Championship wasn't enough in that contest. You now get the benefit of facing Cody Rhodes. So makes that match at Deadline all the more interesting. We then get into the final main event of SmackDown, which of course is LA Knight and Gunther in that Finals of the Last Time Is Now tournament. The chance to be involved in John Cena's last ever match at that Saturday Night Main Event on December 13th. This was incredible. These two guys had the crowd eating out of their hands the entire time, and they knew it. Every chop, every move, the crowd was locked in here. Cole and Graves deserved props as well. They were selling this match for the main event that it was, and this match had me on the edge of my seat until the end. Gunther gets LA Knight to tap, and in a very I have no choice kind of way, you could tell with the way he was tapping. He didn't want to be tapping, but he had no choice. Obviously, Gunther was working on that neck for quite some time, and I loved everything about this match, honestly. And with Gunther, I think it'd been pretty hotly contested and debated over the week since Monday, essentially, when we knew that these two guys were going to be in the finals, who they thought should be the right person. I, for one, think that since John Cena lost that IC title, that Gunther is the right choice here. Had John not lost it, I think LA Knight would have been the right person, both just to win that IC title. But now that that's not on the table, I think Gunther will just kind of, I think he'll, if he is to beat John, it's not to say guarantee that he will, but I think Gunther beating John will make more sense in the long run. Gunther, essentially retiring both Goldberg and John Cena, I think that kind of writes itself, and I think Gunther will take much more advantage of that than LA Knight. But LA Knight clearly the favorite throughout this match, and people want him to win. I think that's a fair statement, and I think he'll get his time. But for now, the Last Time Is Now tournament does belong to Gunther, and I, for one, am very much looking forward to that Gunther John Cena match next Saturday at Saturday Night Main Event. So with that is SmackDown in the books. Lots of things going on here tonight. Of course, the highlight being Gunther and LA Knight, but the Ilya Dragunov and Carmelo was great as well. And then continuing the extreme nature of the women's tag division, of course, and finally it feels like we're getting like a full lift off of MFT and Wyatt Six. Obviously, there's unlimited amounts of ways they can kind of go with that. But yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting and pretty decent episode of SmackDown. I think if I were had to give this one a rating, I would probably give it a 9. This one's pretty intense throughout. Really, no wasted space here, and yeah, I like what we're putting out here. Everyone kind of got a bit in, and in the end, we are full force ahead. Looking forward to Saturday night's main event next Saturday. I think we'll probably build a bit more for that next week. But yeah, this is oftentimes dubbed the kind of slow period of the year, but it didn't feel like one of those episodes to me. I really found myself enjoying this episode of SmackDown. So with that SmackDown recap in the books, we will be back shortly, of course, with the deadline, NXT deadline, PLE taking place very soon. We'll be back with those reactions. And of course, we'll be back with the typical Raw, NXT, and SmackDown, as well as our WrestleMania series we are continuing to work on. And next week is Saturday Night Main Event, obviously. If that hasn't been mentioned enough during this podcast, John Cena's last. So we will be hitting that one both for predictions and reactions next week as well, once we figure out exactly what we have to deal with. Still, a lot of that is a bit unknown. So this next week will be a busy one, I'm sure. But with that, if you disagree or have any comments on your episode of this episode of SmackDown, please let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, as it helps us out tremendously. But until next time, this has been The Push with Nick and KP. We'll see you soon. Take care.